And belief is like pregnancy. Either you are or you're not. There's no in between. And well, it's amazing. It's an amazing idea that you can give someone a sugar pill, a saline injection, give them some type of external substance like water, perform some false surgery or treatment. And a certain percentage of those people will accept, believe, and surrender without analyzing it for 1 second that they're getting the actual substance. And their body begins to make their own pharmacy of chemicals that match the exact thing they think they're taking. So then, is it the inert substance, the placebo, that's doing the healing, or is it the body's innate capacity to heal? And so then, that water, the pill, the saline injection is a symbol. It's a symbol of possibility. And a certain percentage of people will, if the doctor's enthusiastic, if they explain tell a story about how the drug potentially works, they will assign meaning to what they're doing. I mean, more than 80% of people that are in a triple-blind placebo study for depression that are given a placebo, that's 4 out of 5 people, respond as well as the people that are taking the antidepressant. They've done brain scans to prove that the person is actually better in 8 weeks. And every day, all they're doing is taking that inert substance, and their mind is going to the thought they're going to get better. And then when they start thinking about getting better, they begin to change their emotional state. They start to get optimistic. They start feeling grateful. They start feeling inspired. They start looking forward to a new outcome. And expectation is what begins to cause the body to begin to change its physiological state. So a clear intention and an elevated emotion changes your state of being. And so for 8 weeks, those people are making their own pharmacy of antidepressants just by thought alone. And there's been so many studies where people take a placebo for pain, and they're making their own morphine. They give them substances that block the morphine receptor site, and all their pain comes back because they realize that, wow, they're making their own morphine. So our body's innate capacity to do that is unnerving, and I think physicians can use it to an advantage or a disadvantage. By the same means, when someone gets a diagnosis, the first emotion they typically feel is fear. And the moment they hear the news, they have a change in their internal state, and they pay attention to what the cause is, and that brain takes a snapshot, and that's called a memory. So long-term memories are created by highly charged emotional experiences. So the person then is living in fear, and they can say, I'm healthy, I'm healthy, I'm healthy, I'm healthy, I'm going to beat this, I'm going to beat this, I'm going to beat this. That's the thought in their brain, but that thought is never making it to the body because the mind and body are in opposition. The body's saying, no, you're not, no, you're not, no, you're not, you're in fear. So teaching people then how to self-regulate and change their emotional state is one of the key elements, because whatever the doctor says past that point, you have 3 months to live, you have 6 months to live, you have 9 months to live, that's a voodoo curse. And people have, there's been so many studies to show that people usually die right around that time because
they believe it.
That programs their autonomic nervous system into that outcome. So a doctor who will sit down with a person and connect with them and say, you know, I absolutely believe that it can be done. I may not know how, but I'm going to support you in doing that. I think that gives the patient, it empowers the patient to all of a sudden have support, because that white lab coat is a very strong symbol of authority, right? And so
for sure.
Disapproval, of course, closes down possibility for people. And I think this is such an amazing time in history, because so many different paradigms are breaking down because information is so readily available. I mean, 50 years ago, you went to your doctor and she said, you have this condition, we need to take this organ out, and if we're in there and this organ's not working, we're going to take that out too. And most people would say, oh, thank you, and they'd sign on the line.
Yeah.
And fast forward to today, you get a diagnosis, and the first thing that happens is people they go home and they research it. They have information. They have access to information, and they show up at their doctor's office and they say, well, I want to try this therapy, or I want to try that. And the doctor may say, I don't know anything about that, or that doesn't work. And people are saying, really? Time to find a new doctor. Like, I want somebody that is going to work with me. And there's great research to show that when people feel good about their doctor, feel good about what they're doing, the feeling good about it is such an important element. And it may not be a linear path, but at least you're moving in a certain direction. And then, try it out for 3 months or 6 months. Do all the things you need to do. Get your body emotionally in balance. Get it physically in balance. Get it chemically in balance. And let the bodies return back to homeostasis. And all this extra energy that the body now has can be utilized for growth and repair. So when you begin to do this over time, 3 months, measure again. And if it's improving, keep going. If it's not improving, you got to change something up. I mean, let's be practical. It's not denial. It's actually an investigation. You want to be the scientist with your own body and say, hey, am I producing an effect? I'm at cause here. So medicine, and I love medicine, works really great for acute health conditions. You break an arm, you go to emergency, and you get that type of treatment. Chronic health conditions require a lifestyle change. Just a pharmaceutical is not going to do it. A person has to start making different choices.
Well, also because they're usually rooted in emotion, right?
Yeah. No, I mean, 75 to 90% of every person that walks into a healthcare facility in the Western world walks in because of psychological or emotional stress. And the act of reacting to some condition in your life really turns on a primitive nervous system, and called the fight or flight nervous system, and you're mobilizing all your body's resources, all the body's vital energy for some threat in the outer environment. Now, short term, all organisms can tolerate short-term stress, but if you keep turning on that stress response and you can't turn it off, you're headed for disease, because no organism can live in emergency mode for an extended period of time. All your energy is being mobilized for some threat in your outer environment. There's no energy in your inner environment for growth and repair, for long-term building projects. And over time, you start realizing that people actually turn on that response just by thought alone. They start thinking about their problems, and they're producing the same stress response as if they're being chased by Tyrannosaurus Rex. Now, the problem with that is that if the thought produces those chemical reactions and the hormones of stress push the genetic buttons and create disease, that means your thoughts are literally going to make you sick. And the fundamental question is, if your thoughts can make you sick, is it possible that your thoughts can make you well? And that's kind of the interest that I have. And we've done numerous studies to show that you can take people. We did a study with 120 people, and we said, okay, here's what we're going to do. We're going to measure your cortisol levels. We're going to measure your stress hormone levels. You're going to come to an event, a workshop for 4 days, and we're going to remeasure your cortisol levels, and we measured another chemical called IgA, immunoglobulin A. It's the primary defense in the body against bacteria and viruses. It's the body's natural flu shot. In fact, it's better than a flu shot, and we innately make this. But as cortisol levels go up, as stress hormones go up, your immune system is suppressed, right? So we said, okay, let's change the frustration, the anger, the impatience, the resentment, whatever the emotion is that's correlated with the hormones of stress, and let's do a heartfelt emotion. Let's do gratitude, appreciation, kindness, thankfulness, and let's start self-regulating. And we put heart rate monitors on them to make sure that they were doing that. 10 minutes a day for 3 days in a row, right? 3 times a day. At the end of 3 days, 3.5 days, we remeasured everything. Their IgA levels went up 50%.
50?
50%.
Wow.
That means that their body was really beginning to move back into balance and homeostasis. So gratitude, the funny thing about gratitude is that we're conditioned and hypnotized into believing that we need a reason to be grateful. No, when something happens to you, or something's happening to you, when you're receiving something or you've received something, you feel gratitude and you say thank you. Well, when you start to feel gratitude ahead of the actual experience, the emotional signature of gratitude means it's happening to you. It's already happened to you. That gratitude is the ultimate state of receiving. So you can take a person who's been diagnosed with cancer, say as an example, and they're living in fear, and turning that battleship around. Instead of them surrendering to fear every day, you teach them how to surrender to love or to gratitude. And when they start self-regulating, well, their immune system's going to get stronger. We know that. And at the same time, the thought of them getting better is going to make it into the body, because the thought is it can be received by the feeling of gratitude because the body's believing as the unconscious mind that it's in a state to receive, that something wonderful is happening to it. So you can begin to program the autonomic nervous system to work in a very different way, and it takes practice, but yes, it's entirely possible, and we measure this, and once you know the skill on how to do this, it's just like anything else. Like, once you know how to do it, you can do it with your eyes open as well as your eyes closed, and you can turn some of those very strong chemicals that we become like addicts. It's a drug. The arousal of the stress hormones. People start to become very dependent on them, and they use the problems and conditions in their life to reaffirm this emotional need to feel these chemicals, and that means they become addicted to the life they don't even like. And if you can turn on that stress response just by thought alone, you can become addicted to your own thoughts. Now this is a challenge for people because this explains why change is so hard.
Because it becomes your identity.
Well, not only it is your identity, but by the same means, just like an addict overcoming heroin, you're going to have some cravings. You're going to say, "Hey, it's been 2 days since you suffered. I mean, come on."
You get uncomfortable.
The hardest part about change is not making the same choices you did the day before. And the moment you decide to make a different choice, get ready. It's going to be uncomfortable. It's going to be unfamiliar. It's going to be unpredictable. There's going to be some uncertainty. You're leaving the known biologically, neurologically, chemically, hormonally, genetically. You're stepping into a river, to cross a river to become somebody else. And when people really start understanding that their personality creates their personal reality, and your personality is made up of how you think, how you act, and how you feel, that means then the present personality who's listening to this show has created the present personal reality called their life. And if you want to create a new life, a new personal reality, you got to change your personality. That means you got to start thinking about what you've been thinking about and change it. Become aware of your unconscious habits and behaviors and notice them and look at the emotions that you live by every single day that keep you connected to the past and decide, do these emotions belong in my future? And I think most people try to create a new personal reality as the same personality, and it doesn't work. But when people really begin to understand that they can rewire their brain, they can make new neurochemistry, they can make new hormones, they can signal new genes. I mean, all of a sudden, when they start becoming a different person, then they don't have to visualize anything. They don't have to see the tumor shrinking. The disease existed in the old person. They're somebody else. And,
oh my God.
And it just disappears. And so
you don't even have to work at it at that point. The body's just flowing in the right place.
Right. And it does require unlearning. It does require breaking the habit of being yourself.
Yeah.
It does require a certain level of energy and awareness. And it requires lighting a match in a dark place and sitting in that discomfort and not getting up and checking your cell phone or getting on the phone or watching TV or being distracted by in your computer. This is you got to be willing to know that you got to sit in that discomfort, because that's what people are running from all the time. So the person who's going to say, "No, you know what? I'm really insecure," or I live in fear," or "Whoa, I feel really empty." Now, this is the moment. This is a defining moment for people, because now they're saying, "Okay, I got to believe that there's something else here." And I think when you believe in yourself, you believe in possibilities, and when you believe in possibilities, you believe in yourself. So people start taking their power back in a very unique way, and they go all in. They go all in, and they understand then. And I think science has become the contemporary language of mysticism. I think science is what demystifies the mystical, and so and this is a time in history where it's not enough to just know. This is a time in history to know how.
Yes. And
that's for me the most important thing. I love being with people that want to put it to the test. And when you do, I'm always astounded by how unlimited human beings are. And you can't tell me you're too old to do this. We have people in their 80s in our work that have brain scans that will blow your mind. You can't tell me you're too sick to do this. We have people that have been really sick that turn that thing around. You can't tell me you had a turbulent past. There are people that have had brutal pasts that are happy, healthy, well-adjusted people. You can't tell me you're too overweight, too underweight. You can't. I've seen it in all shapes, sizes, and it's an amazing thing, because once you start reasoning it and you start thinking about it, it does make sense. And when it starts making sense to people, then they can begin to assign more meaning behind what they're doing and put more intention behind it. And one of the things that has to happen is that you can't control the outcome. In other words, it's not going to happen the way you think it should, because that's a known. You got to be open to having it happen in a way that you can't predict. And that means you got to lay down the very thing you use your whole life to get what you want for something greater to occur. And that's something we have to work on as well. But step by step, people make these brilliant changes by changing their identity.
I walk around the streets, everybody smiling. So shining bright, so better to be hiding. But you surrounded, don't forget about it. Long days, loud nights, it's summer. I walk around the streets, everybody smiling. So shining bright, so better to be hiding. But you surrounded, don't forget about it. Long days, loud nights, it's summer.
Quên đi bao câu hứa mình còn cho nhau, quên đi bao nỗi đau mình dành. Ngày xưa em đã vội quên đi những lời hứa ngày nào. Vì dòng nước mắt em đã vội rơi, anh không thể mãi anh như đến vào điên rồi. Anh như say đôi mắt môi, anh như chỉ còn muốn em bên cạnh như ở phố xa rồi. Anh chỉ muốn em cạnh đấy thôi, không muốn em ở bên đời, chỉ muốn em anh bên người. Người đã cất bước đi xa trong cơn mưa chiều vội vã, người đã bước quên anh khi cơn mưa qua gần vội vã. Em đã quên rồi mà anh sống tay không nói về, chẳng còn lại gì những người em mang nước mắt rơi. Em khiến con tim như trôi vai trong chiều thu đầy nắng, em khiến con tim như tan mưa trong chiều thu mãi màng. Vì còn nhiều lắm những ngỡ màng, nhiều lắm những nỗi vội vàng, nhiều lắm những cơn mưa em mưa ta bây giờ đơn vang không mơ không mai đứng sáng. Mai em còn thơ đôi mai anh còn người ta xưa ta chúng còn giữ nhau chẳng để